So now on BBC Two, Graham Dixon Wright brings us some culture.
The biggest name in British art, the latest thing in book prizes, and a new version of a TV classic. It's The Culture Show. In tonight's programme, Damien Hirst on being Britain's most expensive living artist. See the film, hum the score. But is writing music for movies under threat? What will today's children make of the Doctor who frightened their parents? And why the people of this village have a long read ahead of them? Hello and welcome. Still to come on tonight's programme, how this Georgian masterpiece was rescued from decay. And Doctor Who is back. But has he left his true character behind? But before that, this Easter sees the return to our screens of one of the great characters of British television, Doctor Who. It's been 16 years since the BBC made the last programme. No big deal for a Time Lord perhaps, but a lifetime for his legion of dedicated fans. Yet the Beeb is adamant that the target audience for the new show is not nostalgic grown-ups, but children. So will the qualities that made the original series so distinctive appeal to the 10-year-olds of today? Matthew Sweet, a bit of a self-confessed Doctor Who anorak himself, has been finding out.
For years now, men like me have been forced to walk in the shadows, to hide our true natures, to lie to our partners about those videos and magazines, to identify each other with secret coded references to the talons of Weng Chiang.
So Weng Chiang has brought the Peking homunculus back through time.
But all that may be about to change, because on Easter Saturday, Doctor Who is coming back.
I'm the Doctor, by the way. What's your name?
And that fills people like me with terror as well as pleasure, because a lot has changed in British culture since the TARDIS last vanished from our screens. This isn't me whining about big boys coming and taking Doctor Who away from me. Let them all come. Doctor Who is the most flexible, indestructible TV format ever devised. The leading character has been recast 9 times. Not even the Colbys could have coped with that. But there were some vital ingredients that had to be there for you to know that you were in the presence of Doctor Who. And what I'm not sure about is whether they'll work in 2005. For me, the most vital is the uncanny, the juxtaposition of the cosily familiar and the totally weird. Doctor Who took the everyday world and transformed it into a circus of the uncanny. It made you feel unsafe in your own home and on the street where you lived. And I think that's why some of the images from the show are burned more vividly into my mind than things that actually happened to me. I mean, I can tell you absolutely nothing at all about my first day at school, but I can tell you anything you could conceivably need to know about alien invasions of the home counties, 1973 to 79. Doctor Who's message to children like me was stark. More stark than any public information film about men who offer to show you some puppies. Don't answer the telephone. Never do any window shopping on Ealing High Street. Don't sniff that plastic daffodil.
Ciao!
Beware of nurses. Oh, matron.
It is immediately an exciting idea, the notion of those sort of faceless factories and gasometers that we all grew up around and policemen whose faces came off.
Excuse me, officer, could I see your warrant card?
It's just a brilliant way of sort of dealing with your neurosis as a child you have about all these things, whether those people you think you can trust you actually can. I think they mined that scene brilliantly, probably to death.
This idea that horror is most horrible when it's on your own doorstep and part of your everyday experience has long and hairy roots. Doctor Who is part of that long tradition of British Gothic fantasy that goes back to Mary Shelley. But more specifically, it should probably be classified in that subgroup of works that put Gothic horrors onto British streets. You can trace this back to the works of the 19th century novelist Wilkie Collins, who made a career out of taking scenes normally associated with crumbling Middle European castles and transplanting them into that ring of villas and semis that was spreading out from Victorian cities. Bram Stoker did much the same when he let vampires loose on Hampstead Heath. And H.G. Wells gave the notion an extraterrestrial twist when he sent the Martian war machines in to smack up Woking. Sensible man.
Well, I've checked the triangulation, sir, and I make it about here.
Just beyond Brentford.
During the Tom Baker era, Doctor Who drew on its Gothic tradition explicitly to create a new kind of uncanny feeling. An uncanny feeling that we might have seen these stories somewhere before. In fact, the Doctor's enemies seem to have leapt straight from the pages of 19th century popular fiction, like this crazy mixed-up guy.
What a magnificent head.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I have had several. I used to have an old grey model before this. Some people liked it.
I did. Children in the audience, they were encountering these myths and stories for the first time. Then you would have a more knowing adult audience that probably would get it. That, I mean, if they were unkind, they'd say we were ripping off, you know, Hammer horror or the Mummy stories or Frankenstein.
The door? Somebody ring? Answer it, you fool.
You're really showing that there are very dark and powerful forces out there that can somehow connect or control the dark forces in man, and that's scary.
But this dark heyday of Doctor Who was the 1970s, when most British movies were about Satanists and cannibals and lesbian vampire schoolgirls.
Well, it takes all sorts to make a galaxy, Your Grace.
10 years later, the Gothic was horribly out of fashion. TV viewers didn't want stories about homicidal dummies and killer telephones. They wanted Howard's Way. And the question that I wonder about is this: has our taste for the uncanny and for all things Gothic gone away for good?
I think the language of Gothic is quite fundamental. A kid is still scared of the dark, and he's still scared of that wardrobe door in the dark that might open. I think that goes beyond. I think kids are scared of that before they've seen a film, or before they've read the literature. I think that's quite fundamental. At the same time, I think there's a growing sophistication in drama, in storytelling, that means you're in trouble if you're just relying on that sort of stuff.
Really though, Doctor, tell me, who are you?
The youngest audience is more sophisticated in the television it watches. It wants more drama, it wants more emotion, it wants more honesty, it wants more truth. Simple pictorial thrills are not enough anymore.
So the Gothic ideas might still be in there, but will they manifest themselves close to home? Will the uncanny live again? Will there be a Yeti at the next urinal?
There was a deadly wheelie bin in the first episode that I love. It's my favourite sequence in the whole thing, because I hope to God kids watch that on Saturday, and when they go to school on Monday, it's bin day. Because I just want the streets lined up with those wheelie bins, and I want them to be scared of them.
It's moving.
So household objects will still kill people, it's just that they'll kill people with emotional lives. I think I can cope with that. But when the moment of truth comes, and it's time to watch it at home, surely that's when we'll realise that something fundamental has changed since the old Doctor Who guys were trying to scare the slacks off the British public. In those days, television was a nocturnal activity. In the early 60s, it was difficult to watch anything during the bright summer evenings without drawing the curtains. Watching telly had a séance-like quality that colour, high resolution and daytime broadcasting have almost totally exercised. Now, in the age of satellite and cable and digital and TVs in every room, primetime horror and surrealism are provided by David Dickinson and live plastic surgery.
How confident are you about whether it will be a success or not? I mean, obviously, we're all kind of crossing our fingers and hoping that it will.
Yes, very worried, to be honest. I mean, it was always commissioned for early on a Saturday night. And, of course, early on a Saturday night, we are up against Ant and Dec. For 18 months, I've been saying, I bet we're up against Ant and Dec. And lo and behold, we are. So it's very scary going up against that. Equally, I hope we get 20 million viewers and blast everything off the map, because we deserve it, frankly. It really does deserve it. And now, in these days before transmission, I can dream of that.
I've heard some fine words, but this is between me and the Doctor. There's something I need to find out for myself. Will I still recognise him as the man who had more influence upon the formation of my moral character than, you know, that guy with the beard who did that walking on water thing? Can he still be my Doctor Who, as well as Russell T Davies's? I'm off to the premiere in Cardiff to find out. Well, it's got an amazing velocity to it. It's incredibly fast. It's almost like watching the edited highlights of an old Doctor Who story. It's amazingly spectacular, and he's terrific. He's very, very larky. You know, he's rather untrustworthy. It's difficult to know whether to, you know, whether he would be, you know, a suitable travelling companion. But it's Doctor Who. Doctor Who's back.
And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
And uncannily, it's cool. How did that happen?
Can we come out of the closet about being Doctor Who fans, do you think?
You should never have been in there. Frankly, it's like, come out.
And the new series of Doctor Who starts on BBC One at 7 o'clock on Saturday the 26th of March. Probably best to reserve your place behind the sofa now. You can see what Newsnight Review's critics made of it this Friday.